a tropical quilting retreat at sea. Yes, you heard right. We're going to have an amazing experience on the seas in the Caribbean, quilting while we're at sea, and then we're going to visit 5 different ports. Does that sound like fun to you? I hope it does. So, those of you who are waiting, still thinking about it, stop thinking about it and sign up. We have an amazing lineup of classes for you, and they are all special classes. It's going to be hard to choose. Really, it's going to be hard to choose. So let's bring her on board. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Gyleen Fitzgerald, thank you for being here. I'm really excited about the cruise. Are you excited?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's summer here, but I feel like I could be a lizard. I love it. I love summer. Just give me the heat and a good rock, and I'm good. So yeah, um, to go back to a summer in November is the ideal situation for me.
That. Let's take a look at your classes. This first one is a table runner.
Yes,
What's the name of it?
Pandora, and it's huge. Number one, so let's just start there. Um, as I say, if you're over 50, time is of the essence. You may not have time to do very small piecework anymore. And plus, we have quilt shops in our home. So this is Pandora. It is a 3 block table runner with what I call connectors to connect the hexagon blocks, the piece hexagons. So what you're looking at is 23 inches across, and it's 20 inches from top to bottom. So the class is being presented as a table runner for the cruise. However, if you like it, there's certainly why not add more blocks once you get home. It would only take 12 blocks that size to get to a queen size quilt. So and it's very fast to sew. With that particular pattern, you're going to learn how to do my signature technique, which is called a butterfly seam, and that's how you execute an inset seam. I don't call them Y seams because in the industry, technically, it's a seam. There's no such thing as a Y seam. It's an inset seam. So I didn't give it a scary name. I gave it a name like butterflies because nobody's afraid of butterflies, and they're gentle and they're pretty and they're easy to do and they're calming. So this is all by machine and how to do them in record breaking speed. And by the time you get finished with the table runner, you could probably teach the technique. That's the promise I give for this one.
And this is the tool that they're going to use, right?
Yes, yes. And we're going to give that little puppy a workout. So that tool actually produces 3 shapes. It's a kite shape in 2 sizes. It's a pyramid shape, which is an equilateral triangle. And then it's a little slither shape or a very wide wide triangle, which I call gem. So we're going to use the gem and the pyramid and the large kite for that. And the strips are basically cut 5.5 inches or 2.25 inches, I believe, for the gem. And also we're going to show you a hack to that tool because I love hacks on how to hack the tool to get to that center hexagon. And you do learn about partial seaming, but that's pretty simple. But I will be there to hold hands if necessary to walk everybody through. And the connectors are just beautiful 3 gems together. A lot for me, is all about illusion of making something incredibly complex that will execute very simply. So you have bragging rights to tell people how good you are, and you're the only one in me that knows how easy it was to do. There's very little matching in this whole thing, so you don't have to match up very many seams. It's just very pointy, so it always looks good.
I would assume, based on what you just described, that this is for any level quilter.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I pretty much do not put skill set on any of my workshops. If you don't have as much, perhaps, experience, I am there. And once I launch the class, when I'm in the classroom, I teach one-on-one. So there's no rush. There's no ahead, there's no behind. I go your pace because we're doing it one-on-one. And because we're on the ship, we also have the evening studios where the studios are open, the machines are available, and we come down, spend a little time with you. So again, I can help reinforce it if you think you need it a little bit more help. But everybody will be able to get this. So I wouldn't worry about it. We have taught people who basically just know how to turn on the machine. I mean, at that level. And it's kind of fun because you don't have any bad habits. So you only have the habits that we taught you. So you have our way because you know nothing else. So that's kind of neat. So we're not trying to make you undo a habit. So yes, I would say anybody, a true beginner, this would be no problem.
Fantastic. And then they'd have bragging rights when they come home from the cruise. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's look at your hand class.
Oh, yeah. This is a new one. I moved and 2 years ago in 2022. And you don't know how much stuff you have until you have to pack it. And you think everything is controlled until you have to pack it. We won't even get into what my studio looked like, but my clothing was as worse as my fabric. It was horrible. And I wasn't giving up this stuff because I kept thinking I'll wear it again one day. And then that day came and I thought I'll never wear it as it is, but what about if I embellish it? What about if I stitch on the stuff that I would have normally given away? I love denim. And so I tried on the clothes first because there's no sense in stitching if you can't fit it. So I made sure I could fit everything. And then the idea was, how do I create this new workshop that's true to form, to my styling? And that means it's going to be a polygon. So for this workshop, I love concentric anything. So whether it's concentric hexagons, pyramids, diamonds, kites, anything, and everybody's project will be an original because you're going to bring the garment. So we're not giving out garments. You're going to find something in your house collection that you want to embellish, and you'll bring it, and we will do an original design based off of, I think, 5 different shapes on your garment, and to do a nice free flow with it, very artistic. So what you're seeing on the screen now is a pair of jeans that I did, and they're really fun jeans because my sister was going through chemo for breast cancer, and this is what I did through all her infusions waiting for her. So as she was getting treated, I was sitting there stitching away, and the nurses were looking and trying to get me to stitch on their stuff, but it was a lot of fun, very relaxing, and that's what I needed to kind of center myself in a very new and stressful situation. It was just very rhythmic. And we're using a beautiful rayon thread that has a nice shine to it and a beautiful twist. So you have it, and it's just a running stitch, but it's very stylized, and where you put it, I think, is part of the workshop to make it very artsy and make it flow well.
Let's look at the next quilt piecing class, machine class.
This Chasing Rainbows. This is a variation of my over and under rainbows class. And instead of having squares on point, I decided, it won't take very much to do pinwheels. What I like about this for the cruise is it's a jelly roll. So you can either have a homemade jelly roll that you did, or you could buy one. And this is both quilts were made with the same jelly roll. So it didn't even take a whole jelly roll because these are a wall hanging. But if you like the idea of it, it's, again, no matching, so it sews very quickly. Your whole jelly roll will go to a nice size lap quilt, or like a twin if you use the whole jelly roll. But you can always stop at a wall hanging or a slightly bigger wall hanging because you have the whole jelly roll. But I did one of them, and my assistant did the other one with the same jelly roll that I had gifted her, and a slightly different background. And it was fun because in quilting, it's hard to really make a mistake. And she called me up and she said, "Hey, mine doesn't look like yours because I think I turned my first block wrong." So I said, "Well, keep going. Let's see, let's see what it looks like." So that's what hers looked like. And I said, "Oh, I like that. I think we should offer it. It's the same block. It's just turned. The start is off, turned by 90 degrees and then continued. So she's got these little loopies in the corner, which I don't have. And but I will bring both of them with me to the cruise. And I'm almost thinking of asking her to make me another sample of the one that she did. But I thought, how clever was that you get two distinct looks, kind of like a 2-for-1, same pattern. And it's just a matter of a 90-degree rotation to set up the first block, and then everything else falls in place from there. But everything is a 2.5-inch cut. You will be using my angle trim tool because you got to cut a 45, and it builds in your seam allowance, and it has markers so that you can get perfect placement for that piecing. Otherwise, it's a snap. It's a crowd favorite, and it's called Chasing Rainbows.
Well, I love it, and I love that you can have two different layout options. I kept thinking there was something different about the other one. I knew the background was different, but it wasn't until you just said that there's loops in the corners. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, they are different, but
Yeah,
so beautiful.
it was a good mistake.
Yes, that's often how designs happen, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, ladies, if you have not met Gyleen before, let me share with you some information about her so that you can know a little bit more about her and her passion for quilting and helping others learn how to quilt. Gyleen was born in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, grew up in Taiwan and Japan. She obtained a Bachelor's of Science degree in Chemical Engineering at Drexel University and opened Colorful Stitches in 1999. Those formative years in the Far East developed her love for simplistic artistry. She began needlework at a very young age of 4 and has since pursued artistic expression in drawing and quilt making. Her quilts blend color, pattern, and texture to provide a contemporary essence to traditional quilting. Her strength as a quilter is demonstrated by the infusion of engineering tools and techniques to simplify visually complex quilts. Her written works center around haiku poetry, quilt project books, patterns, magazine articles, and of course, the creme de la creme, children's books. As an artist, she has achieved Best of Show recognition. As a writer and publisher, she has achieved award-winning status in Quilt's Unfinished Stories with new endings. Gyleen has appeared on The Quilt Show and Lifetime TV promoting finishing antique quilts and the new spirit of traditional quilting. Gyleen, you have a lengthy resume.
I know, I'm thinking, who is that she's talking about, right?
So share a little bit more about why you quilt and why you like to help others learn to quilt.
Oh my gosh. I think starting out so early in life, I'm very tactile. I love anything fibrous, something to hold in my hands. And sort of, I always had that brain of how do you make something? How do you take it apart and make a mess? But as I grew older, it was more of a focus of how does that work? And so quilting was an easy thing for me to fall into. I love geometry. I love shape, space. So when you have like Tinker Toys, this was just another way of doing a Tinker Toy, except for I was moving shapes around. So that's what got me falling in love with it. And all it took was to go to one major show. And I went to a Mancuso Brothers show down in when it was in Hampton Roads, and that opened my eyes to the world of quilting. I mean, because locally you see basically one type. I saw piecing, applique, but when you go to a major show like that and you see the breadth of the art, I came home and put everything else away and I only wanted to quilt. So I started that passion, learning how to get better at it, how to master workmanship to my skill set and to do it my way. And that's what I was a competitive quilter then. I was entering a lot of shows. But you know what what got to my heart was I didn't want to get to the top alone. I want everybody to get to the top. And sometimes the reason why Quilter A is not as where Quilter A wants to be is because of a technique. So I became impassionate to give those techniques to pull the art out of somebody else. I mean, I love for you to make my work. But everybody has the art. And if all I'm doing is my projects are the launch point so that you could practice that technique for proficiency and then dream your dream. And I'm still back in the wings to be your cheerleader. So I don't really sell my quilt. I don't exhibit that often now. It's really about classroom time, personal space to help you get the art or whoever I'm with get the art out of them. And that's what really drives my train to make me do it 24/7, so to speak.
Well, fantastic. I think your classes for the cruise reflect your passion